Today I'm going to show you how to make these super cute day and night owls. I'm going to be walking you through how to do the entire day owl and how to embroider the stars onto your night owl. After you finish, you're going to end up with such a cute little owl. It's a really simple pattern, really great for beginners, and I walk you through every single step from beginning to end. So if you want to make one of these owls, then join me. To make the day and night owls, you will need 6 colors for the day owl and only 3 colors for the night owl. But these are the colors I'm going to be using to make the day owl. They are all DK weight, lightweight yarn, and I'm going to be using a C 2.75 millimeter Clover Amour crochet hook. You could also use worsted weight or medium weight yarn with a size D or 3.25 millimeter hook to make it a little bit bigger. You'll also need a tapestry needle, which is a needle with a dull point that your yarn can fit through the eye, and an embroidery needle, which is, it's bigger than a sewing needle because you can still fit a good amount of yarn or embroidery thread through the eye, and it has a pointy end. You'll need some black embroidery floss. This is the 6 strand DMC embroidery floss in black. You'll need a stitch marker. You can use a bobby pin, a safety pin. This is my favorite stitch marker. It's a Clover small stitch marker. You will need a pair of scissors, and you will need 2 sewing pins that you can position your pieces before you attach them. You'll need some fiberfill, some toy stuffing. You'll need a lot more than this though. So now that we have all of our materials, let's get started on the day owl. Round 1 starts with a magic ring. So I place my tail over my fingers, wrap it around, make an X, and I insert my hook under and over, pull up a loop, reposition the circle to face me, and I hold my yarn like that, chain 1, and now I'm ready to start round 1 with 6 single crochets into the center of my ring. And insert my hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both. Insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm going to tighten my circle, not all the way, and I'm going to start round 2, which is 6 increases. So I'm going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I insert my hook into the first stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. So that's the first stitch of my second round. I'm going to pull the center as tight as it can go and place my stitch marker. So then I'm going to put another single crochet in the same stitch. Okay, then I'm going to put 2 single crochets in the next stitch and keep going around 6 times, or until I do 2 single crochets, which is called an increase, into each stitch all the way around. Okay, this is round 2 done. I should have 12 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now I'm going to start round 3, which is 1 single crochet and 1 increase, and I do that set 6 times. So I'm going to start with 1 single crochet in the next stitch, place my stitch marker, and then 1 increase in the next stitch, which is 2 single crochets into the same stitch. And then I'm going to do that 5 more times around. Okay, this is the end of round 3. I should have 18 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And now I'm going to go to round 4, which is 1 single crochet, 1 increase, and then 1 single crochet. And then I do that 6 times. So 1 single crochet, place my hook or my stitch marker, 1 increase, oops, and 1 single crochet. So then I do that same set 5 more times around. And the reason that I stagger the increases instead of doing 2 single crochets and 1 increase is that it makes it more of a perfect circle instead of like a hexagon shape. So I'm going to do that set 5 more times around. Okay, this is the end of round 4. I should have 24 stitches. So the next round I'm going to do 3 single crochets, 1 increase, and do that 6 times around. 1 single crochet, place my stitch marker, always. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 increase. So I'm gonna do that 5 times more. Okay, I should have 30 stitches now. Okay, this next round I'm just going to single crochet all the way around, no increases. It's important when you're crocheting to make sure that you're having the outside be the right side, so the side facing me. It's gonna turn in like this in this round. You just want to flip it out and make sure that you're working correctly. Okay, round 7, we're gonna do 2 single crochets, 1 increase, and then 2 single crochets 6 times around. One, 2, increase, and then 2 single crochets, 1, 2. So I'm going to do that 5 more times around. Okay, that's after round 7. Now I'm going to do 2 rounds of single crochets, so just going around 2 times, just single crocheting. Okay, now I'm ready to start on round 10. Round 10 is single crochet 9, and then we do an increase and then single crochet 2, and we do that set 3 times, and then we do the entire thing twice total. So I'm going to start with 9 single crochets. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now I'm going to do an increase. 1, 2. Now I'm going to single crochet. Now I'm going to single crochet 2. 1, 2. Now I'm going to increase again. Oops. Now I'm going to single crochet 2. Now I'm going to increase again. And I'm going to single crochet 2. So now we completed all of the steps in the brackets. Now I'm going to repeat that entire thing one more time. Another good way to make sure that your stitch count's right is that if you don't have enough stitches to complete the steps in the brackets, something's going on. So you need to backtrack and see if you added another stitch, or if you're missing an increase or something like that. It's very easy to miss or skip an increase or make an increase where you weren't supposed to. So that's the end of round 10. And so we made the increases. We had 6 increases that round, but they were on both sides. So when we finish our owl, we're gonna have a shape that's more oval, like this, instead of round. So that's the goal with those increases. So now from rounds 11 to 24, we're just gonna single crochet around. So I will single crochet those 14 rounds and meet you back here. So I've just finished round 24, so that's 14 rounds of single crochet around, and I wanted to show you how I like to make sure that I have my rounds right, how I count my rounds. So what I do is I find where my last round of increases were. If you look here, you can see this is the round that I did increase 2 single crochets, increase 2 single crochets. So that was the round, the last increase round. So I count 14 rounds down to make sure that I've made enough rounds of single crochet. So I count like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's how I know that I have the right amount of rounds of single crochet. So now we're going to do round 25, which is 5 single crochets, 1 invisible decrease. So I'll show you how to do that now. So I've already made 1 single crochet for round 25 and I put my stitch marker. So I'm going to make 4 more. So that's 5 single crochets, and then to make my invisible decrease, I insert my hook in only the first loop of the stitch. So if you look at the top of the stitch, 1 front loop and 1 back loop, and that makes up the whole stitch. So I'm going to only be picking up the front loop. So I insert my hook into the stitch and only pick up the front loop. And then I also pick up the front loop of the next stitch. So I have 3 loops on my hook, my loop that was already there, and the 2 front loops of the next 2 stitches. So then I make a single crochet like I usually would. I yarn over, and then I pull through the first 2 loops, and then I yarn over and pull through the second 2 loops. So that's made my invisible decrease. So then I'm going to repeat that section again 5 more times around. So that's round 25 completed. And if you're making the night owl, which has the embroidered stars on the belly, now's the time when you would embroider the stars. So I'm going to set aside my day owl and show you how to embroider the stars for the night owl. If you want to fast forward to finish crocheting, then you can check out the timestamps below. Okay, so I have another owl that I've made. This is a darker color for my night owl, and I've made up to round 25 so that I can start embroidering the stars. So I have a piece of my yellow yarn, about 30 inches of this yarn, and I've already gone and double knotted the end. So I'm going to use my embroidery needle and just go ahead and thread my needle. So my needle is ready. Now I'm gonna prepare my owl for where I want to place the stars. So I'm gonna count, well, first I'm gonna fold my owl in half. So I folded it in half, and where I found to fold it in half is from round, I think it's 10, where we did the increase 2, increase 2, increase 2 on the sides. I just go back and find my increases. So here is my increases. So if you could see, I have an increase 2, increase 2, increase 2. So I fold it along this middle increase. So like that. So I'm gonna take my sewing pins and I'm gonna mark where I'm starting the stars, because the stars are gonna be in the center as the belly. So if I show you my other night owl, it starts from this round and goes down to round 25. And then only within a certain space, because we're gonna attach the wings. So we want them to fall in this general vicinity. So the way that I accomplish that is I find this, I count down 16 rounds. So to count down, you start from the first round, which is your little magic ring hole, and you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So this is my 16th round. And this is the space that I'm going to crochet the stars in from round 16 down. And then I'm gonna make sure that I do it within a certain amount of stitches. So I'm gonna count a space of 13 stitches, and I'm gonna stay within that box as well. So if this is the center, then we'll count 6 stitches this way and 6 stitches this way, and then we won't go further than that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm gonna place another sewing pin here. And then, so I'll count from this side now and count 12 or 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's really not an exact science. I just want to make sure that I'm placing my stars in the general central part of the owl and that the wings won't cover the stars once we attach them. So I'm not precise about where the stars are, which ones are exactly the same shape. I just want generally 6 stars in this region. So I'm gonna do a star. So I'm gonna start a star over here so that I have that edge and I can remove the sewing pin. And I'm gonna do one up to round 16 so I can remove that sewing pin. So I take my embroidery needle and I insert it from inside, and I want to go through a stitch, not between stitches. Okay, so I want to go through the stitch like that. When I talk about between the stitch or through a stitch, let me remove this so that it's easier to understand. So I'm going through one of the stitch legs. To go between the stitch would be to go through like the hole between the stitches. And if you do that, then it's gonna be a lot more wobbly. It's not as precise where you're placing your embroidery stitches, and the end knot will just slip right through. So we want to avoid that. So I'm going to bring out my yarn. So I'm gonna go actually 4 rounds up. I'm gonna make a little bit of a larger star. So all of my stars are at least 3 rounds tall, but you can make them bigger and have different sizes. So I'm gonna go up to the 16th round, which I know is this round because I have my needle there. So I'm gonna remove I'm gonna remove this sewing pin because I'm inserting my needle into the 16th round. Another important thing is to not pull the embroidery thread really tightly, because we still have to stuff our work. And if you pull it too tightly, then it'll pucker and make your piece kind of stuck where the stars are embroidered. So I just kind of made a diagonal line up. I'm gonna make another stitch leading up to this point. So I'm gonna go about 3.5 stitches this way. So I'm gonna go here. And if you remember how to embroider, or if you remember how to draw stars in grade school, like the 4-point straw or the 5-point stars, it's exactly like that. So we're going up, down, this way, across, and then back down. You might want to practice by drawing a few straws. You might want to practice by drawing a few stars before you get started. That might help. So I pulled out the yarn down here, and I'm meeting up to this point and bringing it through. Again, not pulling it too tightly, but tight enough so that it doesn't slack or sag. So I have these 2 points. Now I'm gonna go across, I think. So I will insert my needle. I like to go about 1 stitch. If I'm going in this round, I'm gonna miss this stitch and go up through this one. And then something I also like to do is, once you've pulled the thread out, you can kind of pull it and massage it with your fingers to kind of make it go where you want it to go. So it kind of went up here, and I didn't like that because it would cut off the top. So I'm just pulling it down a little and making it go more where I want it to go. So I'm going to connect it over here. So I've just made this one. Now I'm going to go up through this one and meet up with this side. There we go. And then I'm gonna go up and insert my needle here. And then finally, I'm gonna go from this point up to this point, like that. So I have just made one little embroidered star, super cute. And then I'm going to embroider 4 or 5 more stars, depending on how big I want them to be. And I'm just gonna space them, not going above round 16, not passing this side, and not passing where this sewing pin is. So I'm staying within my box, and I'm just gonna scatter them sporadically. So I'm gonna embroider those and meet you back here. Okay, so I've embroidered 5 stars, and I'll show you what the inside looks like. Try not to travel too much inside, but there's kind of some of them that I may have traveled a little too far, but that'll be okay. As long as it's loose enough that when you stuff it, it's not gonna make the project warped, we're good. So then when I'm done embroidering, I just thread through a stitch and double knot inside work. And then after I've double knotted it, I'll just unthread my embroidery needle. And you can either cut it or just tuck it inside. So now that I've embroidered the stars for the night owl, I'm gonna go back to the day owl and finish the body. Okay, I'm on round 26 of my owl's body. And this is single crochet 4, invisible decrease 1. So I'm gonna single crochet 4. And then invisible decrease 1. And do that 5 more times. So something I didn't mention before, when you decrease, you're decreasing by 1 stitch. So the stitch count goes down by each decrease you make. So after this round, then we should have 30 stitches. So let me just count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So the stitch counts at the end of the round represent what stitch number you should end the round with. So now after this round, I'm going to start stuffing my owl's body and then continue working and continue to stuff as I'm going. So to stuff, then you just take your stuffing and then slowly fill it. I love the polyfill stuffing. It's my favorite stuffing to use because it's really soft and it doesn't make your projects lumpy. It makes them really squishy and good. I like to fill my projects a lot because I use a smaller hook and I know that my stitches aren't going to stretch as much as if you're using a larger hook. So I just work my way in there, continue to fill it. And I'm kind of massaging the stuffing inside so that there's not any lumps and bumps. The other thing that I like to do, especially with this project, is as I mentioned before, I want it to have an oval shape instead of just a round shape. So I look for my increases again. So that's the side. So I'm gonna kind of train my owl to be an oval and not just a circle. I'm gonna keep filling it as I crochet. So the next round is single crochet 3, invisible decrease 1. I don't stagger my decreases because I like the look of the decreases all in one place at the bottom. So I'm gonna single crochet 3, place my stitch marker, invisible decrease 1, so if you look at the bottom, you can see my invisible decreases are lining up diagonally. Just like the look of that better. And I'm gonna do 3 single crochets, 1 invisible decrease 5 more times. Okay, now I'm ready for round 28. Single crochet 2, invisible decrease 1. So that was single crochet 2, invisible decrease 1. I'm going to do that 5 more times. Okay, now I'm on round 29, single crochet, invisible decrease 1, 6 times. Single crochet 1, invisible decrease. 5 more times. Okay, before moving on, then I finish stuffing the body here. I'm going to take out my stitch marker because it's getting in the way of the hole. But I know that that stitch is the next stitch. So when the hole gets this small, then I use the end of my hook to push the stuffing in. So I'll like put it like that and then just use my hook to push it in like so. So I just found my increases again and made sure that I'm forming it correctly. When the stuffing is having trouble getting in because it's so full, that's kind of when I know I'm getting close to it being full enough. So it's getting a little harder to push it in, so I'm gonna give it a final massage and I'm gonna call it. So that's good enough for me. Woo! So I'm gonna go to the next round. It's 6 invisible decreases. So just start the next one as an invisible decrease. Like so. And either you can put your stitch marker or just count 6 decreases because it gets kind of tight and difficult to have a stitch marker up in the business. So I'm gonna leave it off and just count 5 more invisible decreases that I have to make. And 5. So I've made a total of 6 invisible decreases. And now I'm gonna do one slip stitch. I'm gonna do one slip stitch into the next stitch, which is just inserting your hook through the stitch, like a normal stitch, yarning over, bringing through your stitch, and bringing through the loop on your hook. Now I'm gonna fasten off by yarning over, bringing through the loop on my hook, and then pulling this thread, pulling my yarn, let's say like about that long. It's about 6 or 7 inches. I'm gonna cut the end and pull it out. Now I've just made a knot on my work and I'm going to weave this tail through my 6 stitches of round 30 and pull this hole tight, because right now you can see there's kind of a hole that's still open. So we want to close that hole. I got my tapestry needle and I'm going to thread my yarn tail on my tapestry needle like that. Take the end and I'm going to insert it from inside to outside of just the front loop of the stitch. So I'm inserting the needle into the center of the stitch and pulling out. And I'm going to do that through all the stitches around. So through the center of the stitch, like so, until I get back to the first stitch. Okay, I think that was all of them. Oh, maybe one more. Okay, now I'm gonna pull it really tight, kind of hold the knot with my finger. So then I insert my tapestry needle into the center of that circle, like that, and I'm going to bring it out through a different part of my work. So you can see it's going through the center and I'm bringing it out of a different part. And I'm gonna pull tight and that little knot kind of retracts into your work. Now I'm gonna take this yarn tail and weave it through a few stitches so that it's secure and I can cut it. I go through the legs of the stitches and I do about 3, like so. And then I go up around, so I go through this kind of like this little guy, go up, and then I go the other way. So I go in through a stitch and go through 3 stitches like that. And the final step of weaving in the yarn tail is I bring it back through my piece again, bring it out through another spot, pull it, and then I cut it really close to the work without cutting my work, obviously. And then the yarn just retracts into the piece. So here we have the owl's body, and now we're gonna move on to the eyes. Okay, I have my yellow yarn for my eyes, and I'm gonna start with a magic ring again. So now I have my magic ring, and I'm gonna do 7 single crochets into my magic ring. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The count is correct. And now I'm going to do 7 increases around. So I'm going to start in here. I'm going to do 1 there, and then I'm going to tighten my circle. And then I'm going to do another single crochet into that same stitch to increase, and do 6 more increases. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So that's after round 2. And round 3 is single crochet 1, increase 1, but you might notice that you only do it 4 times. So I'm not going all the way around. So I'm just going to increase or single crochet 1, place my stitch marker so that I can double check that I did the amount of repeats that I need to. Increase 1, single crochet 1, so I'm going to do that 3 more times. Okay, now I've done 4 sets of single crochet 1, increase 1. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm just going to slip stitch 1 in the next stitch. And then fasten off by yarning over, pulling through, giving myself maybe like 12 inches. And then cutting the end. And that's 1 eye base ready. So you're gonna also wanna cut the tail of the beginning yarn tail, and you won't have to weave it in if you've crocheted over it in your second round. So I'm just gonna cut close to my work. Like that. And now I'm gonna make another one, and then I'm gonna embroider the eye onto it. So I wanted to show you what the different eyes can look like. I wanted to give my night owl awake happy eyes because owls are nocturnal, and I wanted to give my daytime owl sleepy eyes because owls sleep during the day. So I'm gonna show you how to do the downturn eyes, but really it's exactly the same. It's just one is attached with the upturned eye and one is attached with the downturned eye. So I'm going to show you how to embroider the eye onto your eye base. So I have a piece of embroidery thread. You can see that it's made of 6 strands. I'm using all 6 strands. So I am going to take my my embroidery needle and thread it. And I'm going to double knot the end like that. And now I take my eye and I have it towards me with the 4 single crochet 1, increase 1 below. So you can tell because here we have 2 rounds 1, 2, and here we have 3, 1, 2, 3. So you want the third round closest to you, and we're gonna be embroidering our eye like this. So on the second round, and then have the eyelashes go out to the third. So I'm gonna embroider it like this, where the knot is here, and I'm gonna start embroidering here. So I insert my embroidery needle into the second round, like that. Bring it out. Okay, now that I have my embroidery thread out on the front, then I'm gonna show you what I like to do. I like to kind of fold it or like position it where I want it to be, and then I recreate that with the stitches. So I want it to kind of look like this along the second round. So I just follow that same trajectory. I insert my needle a little bit down and another stitch to make one stitch like that. And now I'm going to do back stitches all along, and I make 6 segments. So that was 1, 2, 3. And the same thing as before, you want to insert the embroidery needle between through stitches and not between stitches, so that you have more security and that it doesn't move as much. And then I'm just connecting up to the last stitch. That was 3 segments. So I have 3 more to go. And many times if I'm not happy with my embroidery, I'll pull it out. I am not afraid of starting over again because I want it to be as close to perfect as possible. And it's very difficult to get it perfect on the first try. As you get better at embroidering on crochet, it gets easier, but it's definitely a skill that takes practice to perfect. And I still pull out my stitches many, many times. So this is kind of wonky, so I'm going to see if I can correct it by just pushing it like that. And if not, I'll rip it out. I think it'll be fine. So I'm going to keep going, especially because I'm making lashes. The lashes help to blend the eye line a little bit. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments. And then now I'm going to make lashes. So I put lashes at each point between the segments. So I bring the needle out in the third round of stitches and then up to meet the eye. Like that. So this is one eye done. It has 7 lashes. And then if you just turn it like this, then you have an upturned eye done for the night owl. And this is a downturned eye for our day owl. So I'm gonna go ahead and double knot the back the same way we did for the stars. Just insert your needle, loop it through, double knot, loop it through again, same direction, bam. I'm gonna do that one more time. Then I'm going to cut my embroidery floss pretty close so that it's hidden under the eye. Trim this one too. There we go. And repeat that for the other eye so that you have two eyes. So now I'm going to make my wings. I have my wing color here, and I'm going to start with a magic ring, but the wing is made in rows, not rounds, so that'll be important for round 2 or row 2. I'll show you what to do. So I started with my magic ring. I'm going to single crochet 4 into the center of the ring. One, 2, 3, and 4. So here we have row 1, and now I'm going to chain 1 and turn. So I chain by yarning over, bringing through the loop on my hook, and now I'm going to turn the work to go back down the way that I just came. So now I'm going to increase 4 in my previous stitches. So I go into the first stitch, and that's 1 single crochet and 2 single crochets. So if you look at it from the top, you can still see your stitch. It's just facing the other way, but if you put your hook into the hole, that's how you pick up that stitch. And I don't need a stitch marker because we're doing rows and it's pretty obvious where the first stitch of my row is. But if you need to use a stitch marker to see where that last stitch is and not where the chain is, then go ahead and use a stitch marker there. So I have 4 stitches, I need 2 more increases. And then I chain 1 and turn. So now I'm ready to crochet in my next stitch, and now I'm going to increase 1, single crochet 1, going across 4 times. So here's 1 increase, and then 1 single crochet. And then 3 more times. There we go. Chain 1, turn. Now I'm going to single crochet 1, increase 1, single crochet 1, and then do that set 4 times across. So single crochet 1, increase, single crochet 1, and then do that set again 3 times. Chain 1 and turn. Okay, now I'm going to single crochet 3 and increase 1 and do that 4 times. One, 2, 3 single crochets, 1 increase, so I just finished row 5 of the wing, and now I'm going to chain 1 and turn just to work down this straight edge. So I'm going to work 9 single crochets all the way across, but I'll show you where to work them along this row. So the first single crochet you're going to work in to the same stitch that you just did an increase in. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet there. And then if you look here, I'm gonna do a single crochet into this hole between rows. So that's 2. I'm gonna do another one here next to it. That's 3. I'm gonna do another one between these 2 rows. 4. I'm gonna do one in the center. 5. One between these rows. 6. One between these rows. 7. One in this little hole. 8. And then one more in this hole. 9. Oops. So I've just done 9 single crochets down this way. I'm going to chain 1 and then slip stitch into the first stitch of round 5. So insert my hook, yarn over, and then bring through the loop on my hook. I'm going to fasten off, yarn over, and pull through. And then I'm going to leave about an 8-inch strand, which I'll mention now. For my owl, I'm only attaching this piece because I like the look of it being loose. You can see here too. If you want to attach the whole wing down, which is perfectly fine, then you're gonna just want your tail to be a little bit longer. So now make another wing and then meet me back here so that we can crochet the rainbow. So now we're gonna make the rainbow that goes on the center of the owl's belly. And I start with orange and then I go to my wing color. Then I do yellow, lilac, and blue. And you can pick any colors that you want. I just think these look really pretty. So we're gonna start with the orange now. I have my orange here and the rainbow is crocheted in rows around a chain. So we're gonna start with a chain 6. So to make a chain, you start with a slip knot on your hook. So to make a slip knot, you start with the yarn draped around your finger, very similar to how you started the magic ring, the X, and then under and over. But instead of saving the loop, I'm gonna drop the loop, take both tails, and pull it tight around my hook. So I'm gonna chain 6 by yarning over. I keep the tail pinched between my index finger and my thumb and use my other fingers to work my yarn. Then I just pull through the loop. That's one chain. And you can see the little chain stitch that I made. So I'm gonna make 5 more of those. Just yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. So that's 4. I need 2 more, 5 and 6. So now we have a chain of 6. And now I'm gonna turn my chain to crochet down it. And I'm gonna start in the second chain from my hook. So this is the first chain, this is the second chain. And I insert my hook into the center of that chain and make my single crochet. So I yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. I'm gonna put a stitch marker just to help you see where we're at. So that is my first stitch. And I'm gonna continue making 3 more single crochets down. So I insert into the center of the chain, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Keep on going. And 1 more. So now I have 1 more chain left and I'm gonna single crochet 3 into that chain. So it's like an increase, but instead of just 2, you're doing 3 single crochets into 1 stitch. So I've done 3 single crochets into that last chain, and now I'm going to turn in my chain to work down the other side. And now I'm going to do 4 more single crochets. So I'm going to go into the next stitch. I'm not going to work any more into the stitch that I just did 3 into. I'm going to go into the next one and single crochet 1. Also, I'm going over my tail. This helps me avoid weaving. So I'm putting it in the same stitch as the one from the other side, but I'm coming at it from the opposite side. So I just did 1, I'm going to do 3 more. 2, 3, and 4. So now I'm going to fasten off and attach using a standing single crochet from the other side. So I'm going to fasten off. Just leave a little bit of a tail to weave it in. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we have this is row 1 of our rainbow. So I'm going to grab my pink yarn and I'm going to show you how to do a standing single crochet to start the next row. I have my pink and I'm going to make another slip knot on my hook just like we did to start the chain. Go around, up, over, pull up a loop. So I have my slip knot on my hook. I have a little bit of a tail for weaving. Now I'm going to grab my row 1 and I'm going to take my stitch marker out and I'm going to put my hook into that first stitch like that. I need to grab my working yarn, so get all these tails out of the way. And then, as you can see, my knot is kind of like twisting and twirling. I just kind of push that so that it looks like there's just a loop on my hook, like a single crochet, a normal single crochet. So I've inserted into my stitch. I have 1 loop already on my hook, which is my slip knot, and I'm yarning over. And now I have 2 loops on my hook, yarning over again, and there is my standing single crochet. So I'm going to single crochet 3 more, just as normal. Now I'm going to increase 3, so increase 3 times. So this is 1 increase, 2 increases, and 3 increases. And now I'm going to single crochet 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then fasten off. So that's row 2 finished. I have my yellow. I'm going to make a slip knot. Inserting into my rainbow. And I always start at the right side and go that way because I crochet that way. So I'm going to single crochet 5, increase 4, and then single crochet 5. I'm going to do a standing single crochet. That counts as my first one. I'm going to single crochet 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to increase 4 times. 1, 2, 3. Woo. 4. And then single crochet 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fasten off. And that's the end of round 3, or row 3. Slip knot. Attach it into my rainbow. Yarn over, make a standing single crochet. And then single crochet 4 more. And now I'm gonna do increase single crochet and do that 4 times. So I'm gonna go increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet. And now I'm gonna single crochet 5 times. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Fasten off. 1 more row to go. I'm gonna insert my hook and make a standing single crochet, like so. And now I'm going to do 6 single crochets. And then I'm going to increase and single crochet 1 and do that 4 times. And now I'm going to single crochet 7. Like that. So this is our finished rainbow. I am leaving a 20-inch tail for the blue, cutting it there. But then I'm gonna weave in all of the rest of the ends except for the blue tail, because that's what I'm gonna use to attach it to the body. So I'm gonna weave in all of these ends, and then after I'm done with that, I will show you how to attach all of the pieces to make your owl. So I just take the tail and go up through this same color, and I'm gonna cut it. So I'll show you with this little purple one. So I've just threaded my tapestry needle and I send it right back. I'm on the back side as well, not the front. And just send it through the backs of the stitches. I'm going in the legs, just going through, maybe do like 3 or 4. Because I'm sewing this on, it's gonna be pretty secure. So I put it through there, and now I'm gonna just cut the end. Like that. So I'm gonna do that with all of the rest of them except my long blue one. We are now ready to attach all of the pieces. We're almost done. So I'm gonna start with the eyes. So I'm going to make sure that my increases are on the right sides. Let me find them again. Here we go. So that's the center. So I've zhuzhed it right. That is the shape that I want. And this is the front. I'm gonna declare, they're both the same, but that's the front. We're gonna attach the eyes over rounds 8 through 13. So I'm gonna count from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me grab my sewing pins. And down to round 13. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So this is where the eye will be placed over. Because this is the front, I want to find the center of my piece. So I go from the top and just kind of say this is the center. And why I do this is because I want the eyes to be 3 stitches apart. So if I'm placing an eye, I know this is round 8. So first I find the center of the eye, and I take my sewing pin and put it through that stitch. And then I'm going to put it where I want the eye to go. So this is where it's gonna fall over. Take this one off. So already I can tell I'm gonna need to move it that way, because if this is the center, I'm gonna need more stitches between eyes. So I'm gonna move it 1 this way. And let's try that. Let me get my other eye. Here's my other eye, and I just stick this through the top. And try here. So it still looks a little close for me. So I'm going to shift it over 1. Okay, that looks about right. So I'm going to take my tapestry needle and attach the eyes now. I'll start with the left eye. It doesn't really matter because you have your sewing pins in place and you know where you're going. And then I just make sure that it's going over the rounds that I want. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So it's laying over the correct rounds. The eye is straight, and then I just let it guide me where it needs to go. So I have my threaded tapestry needle, and it looks like the thread is already just going in through there. Let me zoom in. And then this next stitch looks like it's kind of going that way, so I'm just following around the eye. So I inserted under a stitch like that, and now I'm going to insert my needle through my next stitch from the back to the front like that. And now I'm going to go in the same stitch that I just came out of, back in there, and up to the next one that I want to go through. Like that. And then I just do that all the way around the eye. So through the stitch, I'm going to remove my sewing pin. Back in. And I know that this is round 8, so I don't want to go above that because this is the highest round that I want to attach to. So now I'm just going to the side. Oh no, I'm tangled. Okay. And I just am checking where the eye seems that it wants to go. And it kind of looks like it wants to go down already. So I'm just following that. Actually, I want to go to the side one more. I think I attach, there's 17 stitches in this last round, so I attach 4, 4, 4, and 4, and then 1 is kind of diagonaling. It's not a perfect science, just do what looks good, do what feels good, and it'll be perfect. Just going round. Under. I'm going to use my other sewing pin to just stop this guy from wiggling. He's bothering me. So this is a good example of the stitches don't line up perfectly. You know, they go kind of diagonal. It's not perfect squares or circles. So like I started going that way and it's gonna be too far from my eye. So I need to course correct and go into the next one closer to my eye, like that. If I had gone through that stitch, it would have stretched the eye and just not been cute. But now I need to go to the one below it. So I've gone to the end. I'm just gonna insert it back in and then out through the back. I don't weave it in yet because I wanna make sure that the placement's right before I finalize it. So that's one eye done. I'm just gonna go ahead and attach the second one. I just wanna make sure that there's 3 stitches between the eyes. So I'm gonna go ahead and attach that one and meet you back here. I realized I didn't go down far enough on a row, which is why I don't weave in the ends until I'm fully done. So I need to go down 1 row lower. That looks a lot better. Okay, I'm gonna do the other eye. Finish doing the other eye now. Now we're going to attach the wing, and we're going to attach the wing with the wrong side facing us. So if you look at this side, the last round of stitches looks normal. We want to attach that side facing the owl, and you can also tell because it's going to naturally kind of like curve in. We want that curve to be towards the owl's body so that it kind of sits like this. If you attach it the other way, which I have one that I attached the other way, this is what you're going to get. This little wing's going to pop out. And if you really love that look, then, you know, go for it. This is what it looks like when it's the wrong side facing out. It kind of just rests against it more. And on this owl, both of the wings are attached with the wrong sides facing out. And so for this side, as you can see, the tail is at the bottom and we need it at the top. So for this side, we need to weave the tail through that last straight edge all the way to the top. But for this side, it's already at the top. So you don't have to weave the yarn up. I'm gonna start with this side, and first I'm just gonna weave the strand all the way up to the top through that one straight edge row. You'll also be using your yarn tail from your wing to embroider the beak. So I will probably do that after I attach the next wing, because I'll have more yarn. I'm not bringing it all the way up like this. So there we go. It's at the top now, and I'm going to attach it starting at the same round as the last round of the eye. So coming right up here, and I want this point to be aligned with the center. So if the center is here, just bring it back down here, and that's where I'm going to attach the wing. I'm actually going to come to this round and attach it to that round right below it. I have to make sure that my yarn is coming out through the back of my wing and go forward. Now I'm going to go through the next stitch on my wing just like we did with the eye, from inside to outside, and bring it up again, just following the curve. I want it to be a little bit slanted because it looks more wing-like to me than if you just had it straight up and down. So I'm gonna just have this kind of like curve that way and follow the line. You can attach as much of the wing as you want. So if you wanted to stop here and you just liked it that you could like have the whole wing be a little flappy, go ahead. You can also attach the whole thing down so it's more secure. That also is cute. I'm going to attach maybe a third of this top part and then just a few here so that it can kind of go like this. So that's all I'm going to attach. I've just attached the top part of the wing, and now I'm going to bring it to the other side of the wing like that. And I'm just going to do the top little bit. So I brought it inside the body, not just under the wing. Match up the parts of the wing and just attach a few stitches at the top. And then I'm going to go in and out just under the wing so that I can weave in the end and it'll be hidden by the wing. So I'm just going to weave the end in a little under the wing. If you want to do the same thing and wait until you've done the other wing before cutting, do that. Better safe than sorry. And that's this wing attached. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the other wing. Don't cut the tail for the other side. We're going to use it to embroider the beak. So I brought the tail of the wing that I just attached 1 stitch away from the eye and like at the center of the eye. And then I'm just gonna go down 2 rounds and insert my needle in this stitch between, and then bring it up on the other side. I'm using the tapestry needle because I'm going between the stitches and not through the stitches because it's a very simple beak and it shouldn't move around too much. So I'm gonna just connect the V and bring up the stitch between the points of the nose, the top of the beak. Like that. And then I'm just gonna connect it down like that. And I will weave the end. So I'm gonna take the tail and put it out a different part of the body. Re-zhuzh the beak. And that's the beak. Now I'm going to attach the rainbow. I've already positioned it where I want it to go, and I'm going to cover so it's 3 rounds below the beak, and then comes all the way down to below, I think below around 25. Just give it a pin and see if you like where it's placed. Thread my tapestry needle here, come out the next one. And then what I'm gonna do is, I don't wanna just go through the top like usual because then we're gonna have this blue showing up all across the bottom of our rainbow. So what I'm gonna do is, I'll take off the sewing pin, and I don't know how best to show you, but I'm gonna just thread it through a stitch in the back. Like that. And then continue going like that. And then take another from the back. Like that. And then in and up, just like usual. The only difference is that we're taking stitches from the back of the rainbow and not just going through both sides. Another difference is that I'm not going to be attaching every single stitch to the body. I'm going to do almost every other stitch because there's too many stitches to attach. So if I attached them all, it would be all wonky and warped. So like you can see here, I'm going to need to just attach every other. So I just kind of like guide what stitch seems like it belongs where it goes. I go through every stitch on the body, I just don't go through every stitch on the rainbow. So I'm gonna skip, go to this one. I just like to check in that I'm still in the right position. I've reached the end, so I'm going to now work up the sides of the rainbow. So coming up this way and over, and I'm just gonna do not every single stitch on the rainbow, but every stitch on the body and see where I need to insert my needle. Once you get to the end, then just go through your last stitch and then insert it back in, bring it out of another part of the body, and weave it in like we did with all of the other pieces. So that's the rainbow attached. First, I'm going to show you how to make these fun tassel-y head feathers. You're going to need your wing color yarn or whichever color. I'm going to do the last blue color for this. So what I'm going to do is take my yarn and then just make like 4 strands that are about 8 inches long. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then cut the end, and then cut the loops. Like so. And then to attach them, I'm going to attach them over the 5th round. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I insert my hook, from the outside to inside and drape the yarn tails over my hook, and I'm going to bring them under this stitch. Whoa. You don't want to go that far. I'm going to cut, or I'm going to find the loops, and I'm going to bring the ends of the tails through like that. And then I'm going to cut it short. Like that. I'm going to show you how to do this option, which is like a little chained ear kind of little loop guy. I'll show you how to do that one, but I'm going to leave this one on because this is what I'm ultimately going to have. I have a strand of yarn. Well, I have my yarn, the blue yarn. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go through under the 5th stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 5th round, the center, like that. And then I'm going to drape my yarn over and pull up a loop like that. So both strands are still on the other side. Then I'm just going to take the working yarn and chain 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then just fasten off by pulling through. Tightening it. And then you're gonna thread your tapestry needle. and go back on this side of the stitch and bring it out somewhere else. Like so. And that makes the little loop. Then you need to weave in these extra yarn tails. So that makes that little ear, that little feather. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that out because I'm gonna make another one that looks like that. And then I'll be back to show you the finished owl. Here she is, my finished owl. She's beautiful. This is the day owl, and this is the night owl. I love them so much. I hope that you loved the pattern and video. I have a lot of other patterns on my website, tinycurl.co. You can check the links out in the description box. Follow me on Instagram, and yeah, I'd love to see your owls. Share them with me. Bye. Bye.